All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. Today, we are diving into something that I think is going to be really helpful for a lot of you out there. We're talking parenting plans.
Yeah.
How to make a parenting plan that actually, works.
hmm
So let's get right into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So first is the idea of clarity. It's got to be crystal clear. Why is that so important when you're putting together a parenting plan?
It's like, it sounds super basic, right?
Yeah.
Clarity, like, oh yeah, of course.
But there's got to be more to it.
But it's the foundation. It's like the bedrock of everything. Because think about it, you're trying to create this roadmap for how to raise your kids
Two different places.
in two separate households.
Yeah.
So if you don't have these super clear guidelines in place, you're just setting yourself up for like constant misunderstandings, disagreements,
Right.
and just unnecessary stress. Nobody needs
Right.
that.
So can you give me an example? Where does this lack of clarity actually cause problems?
Oh, yeah, totally. Like a classic example I've seen a lot is, the plan will say something like weekends for visitation.
Okay.
But what does weekends even mean?
Right.
Does that mean Friday after school? Does it mean Saturday morning? Does it mean Sunday night for dinner?
Yeah, totally different.
So suddenly you've got two parents. They both have their own idea of what weekends means. And guess what?
It's a fight every weekend.
Every weekend is a battle.
Yeah.
But if you have a plan that clearly says, like, parent A picks up the kids at 6 p.m. on Friday and returns them at 6 p.m. on Sunday, boom. There's no room for argument.
No gray area.
It's like having a referee built right into your agreement.
That makes so much sense. So it's really about preventing those conflicts before they even start.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, the importance of consistency for the kids.
Yes.
Why is that such a big deal?
Well, think about it from the kids' perspective. Their world has just been totally turned upside down. And kids, especially when they're going through these kinds of big changes, they really thrive on predictability.
Okay.
So knowing what to expect, where they're going to be, when they're going to be there, it just gives them that sense of security and stability that they really, really need during a difficult time.
Like a routine.
Yeah, it's like that anchor, that comforting anchor in a stormy sea,
I love that. That's a really good visual. So it's not just about making things easier for the parents. It's really about the well-being of the child.
Absolutely. It's about the kids.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So another thing, the day-to-day stuff, we're talking holidays, school breaks,
Yeah.
even things like if a parent has to travel for work. So you're really looking at the whole year, not just Monday to Friday.
Make a parenting plan for all seasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So why is that important? Why do you have to think so far ahead?
Well, because, life happens. And
Yeah.
it's so easy to get caught up in that day-to-day grind.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly it's like, oh, shoot, it's Christmas Eve. And we haven't figured out who has the kids. Or spring break just snuck up on us and now we're scrambling.
Oh, I bet that causes so much stress.
Oh, it's so much better to address these things up front, even if it feels a little overwhelming at first. You're going to thank yourself later.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's move on to something that I think is a little bit trickier.
Mm-hmm.
Decision-making.
Yes.
Particularly in situations where parents share legal custody.
Mm-hmm.
Can you break that down for us? What does that actually mean?
Sure. So legal custody, this basically means having the right to make those big decisions about your child's upbringing.
Okay.
We're talking education, healthcare, religious upbringing, things like that. And it's different from physical custody, which is where the child actually lives.
Right.
So when parents share legal custody, the parenting plan needs to be super clear about how those decisions are going to be made.
So how does that work in practice? What are some of the ways that parents can share decision-making?
Well, there are a few different models. One common one is a collaborative model, where the parents are expected to, discuss and agree on all the major decisions together.
Okay.
Now, this obviously requires a lot of communication.
Yeah.
And a willingness to compromise, which, depending on the situation, that might not always be feasible.
Right.
Another approach is a designated authority model. So this might give one parent the primary decision-making power in certain areas, like, say, education.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other parent gets it in other areas, like healthcare.
So it's about finding the right balance for each family.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about clarity, consistency, thinking ahead. But then there's this idea that a parenting plan isn't just a one-time thing, right?
Right.
It has to evolve.
This is where that concept of a living document comes in.
I love that phrase.
Yeah, it's not set in stone.
So how do you actually make it flexible? How do you build that into the plan?
So, a well-written plan will have mechanisms for review and adjustment. Some parents decide to have these scheduled check-ins, like maybe once a year,
Okay.
just to see if anything needs to be updated, if the plan is still working.
Makes sense.
Other parents, they prefer to set up these specific triggers for revisions, like if a child changes schools or reaches a certain age, those kinds of things.
Okay.
The key is just having some kind of system in place to be able to revisit that plan as needed.
So it doesn't get stale.
Exactly. Yeah, it has to grow and change along with your family.
Okay, so it's like acknowledging that co-parenting, it's a journey.
It is. It's a long-term thing, and things are going to change.
Yeah. But even with the most, detailed, comprehensive plan, you can't predict everything, right?
Right. You can't plan for every single scenario. Life is messy,
So what's the most important thing then? If it's not all about having every little detail spelled out.
honestly. Open communication and flexibility. Those are key. But the plan is like your roadmap. But the journey of co-parenting, it requires that ongoing collaboration and understanding. You got to be willing to adapt. And always, always put the needs of your children first. That's what it's all about.
I love that. Such great advice. Well, that's about all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for sharing.
Of course, happy to be here.
And to all of you listening, remember, this was just a quick dive. There is so much more to learn about creating effective parenting plans. So keep researching, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep putting those kids first. We'll see you next time.
See ya.